Hello friends, this is the 30 km per hour podcast with Whoopo's Downshifter Walk. I'm Whoopo and I'm your host for this podcast today. The main topic of today's podcast and the blog post is the equipment made from MERINO. Autumn has arrived and soon the winter will come, the astronomical and the quite cold winter. The astronomical and quite cold winter, yes. Personally, I'm a fan of riding outdoors 36 days of the year and I really enjoy it. But to make cycling in a few degrees below zero enjoyable, the good equipment is of great importance. And now is the perfect time to talk about MERINO. As I prepared for today's podcast, I took out most of my cycling gear. So after setting aside the summer and winter tights, the jerseys and the gabas, actually I'm not sure if I'm using the term gaba correctly. I call gaba those thick type of jersey that are worn during the cold winter as outerwear and are made of Gore-Tex breathable material. Please leave a comment on this review and below this podcast about the significance of the name GABA and whether this is the correct name of this part of the equipment. So after setting aside the winter and summer tights, jersey and arm and leg warmers, it turns out that the remaining part of my cycling gear is made mainly of MERINO. What is so special about MERINO, some might ask? What is the big deal about MERINO? That's why I decided to create this extensive and detailed podcast review and the blog post of the cycling gear made of MERINO. We will explore the following elements of the cycling gear made from MERINO. First and foremost, MERINO socks, summer and winter socks. Second, MERINO buffs, extremely important and valuable piece of the gear. Thirdly, gloves. Yes, MERINO gloves. I have several pairs of MERINO gloves and I will explain when and how I use each of them. The fourth and main part of my gear is the thermal underwear. Quality and reliable thermal underwear are extremely important and valuable from the beginning of the autumn up to the end of the spring. Okay, let's talk about the first part, the MERINO socks. I have two types of MERINO socks. One is for the summer. I wear them from the beginning of the summer when the heat starts. They are short, reaching the base of the ankle, thin but breathable. Your feet have no problems, even at temperatures above 40-46 degrees Celsius. Actually, approximately this year, the maximum temperature I saw on my Garmin while riding was 46 degrees Celsius. Yes, of course, these are 46 degrees Celsius in the sun, but they are very real, especially considering the heat radiating from the hot asphalt. With these thin MERINO socks, I have been for a very long time and I have absolutely no any problems. I have been using them for 3 or 4 years, and for my greatest regret, they gave in during the last summer. I had about 7 or 8 pairs of these short summer MERINO socks, and after a few summers, they wore out. There is nothing to be done in order to avoid this. Unfortunately, I can't find the website where I bought them. I'm very satisfied with them, and if I manage to find the same model, I will stock up again and definitely will share the link to the website where you can order them. I will also post a blog post about that in my blog and inform you in some of the next episodes of the podcast. There in the blog you can find all the links to all the products we are talking right now in this podcast. I definitely advise you to visit the Whoopo's Downshifter blog. If you search in Google with the Whoopo's Downshifter blog, you can find us very easy. In the blog, I'm posting detailed photos of all the products, links to the shop where you can order them. I publish also regularly videos in YouTube, and because of that, come and see everything in the blog. The next item in my MERINO gear is the 3-season socks. I have been wearing these socks since the beginning of autumn, through the winter and up until the start of the summer and the summer heat. MERINO wool cycling socks, they are black in color, generally thin, but they are very dense and because of that super warm. A few years ago, I bought 4 or 5 pairs of this model of MERINO wool socks from a website, but at that moment I totally forgot which website was it. I successfully wore these socks for all 3 seasons, autumn, winter and spring, and keep in mind I didn't only wear them while cycling. One very important feature of these merino socks, and probably all the merino gear, is that you don't need to change them immediately after a tough ride. Just because these socks, like all things made of merino wool, don't retain any odors at all. The material quickly allows sweat to pass through, so the fabric doesn't get very wet, and as a result you don't sweat much. There is absolutely no odors left behind. For example, I had a situation where I rode on a SR600 brevet. The SR600, this is a 600 kilometers brevet with 10,000 meters of elevation gain. And then I forgot to take my pair of socks. Well, congratulations! I rode for 2.5 or 3 days with only one pair of socks. And there was no problem actually. Yes, in a warm hot weather you can wash them easily at evening and wear them at morning with almost no any problems. But if it's freezing cold outside in the morning, then forget about washing them. Because if you put on wet socks in a cold chilly weather on your feet, we will have a lot of problems after that, be sure. So about 4 years ago I bought several pairs of this model of merino wool socks, wore them during the cold time of the winter, spring and the autumn, and I was super satisfied with them. This year on the Shipka 300 kilometers brevet I was at the checkpoint on the northern side of the mountain. After everyone passed through the checkpoint, I climbed up with my bike Pips the Beklemetu Pass from the north side along with my colleagues, and we descended from the other side, and after that I returned alone to Trojan. In Carnare I met up with Dino and we drank some Coca-Cola, get some snacks, and at the meantime we took some photos, which after that I uploaded in Facebook. One of my Facebook friends, Flamen, commented on the photo. "Those are my socks! Wow, super cool! Thank you for this photo." Later I talked to Flamen about what is going on, and it turns out that Flamen is the owner of the sock factory called Pochurapi. This is a Bulgarian sock manufacturer, exceptionally high quality socks, super cool, and they are producing not just cycling socks, more like the cycling socks are just an addition to his main assortment of socks, but nevertheless they are very good and very suitable for cycling. While talking to Plamen, I told him, "Look man, I have been riding with your merino socks for over 3 or 4 years already, and I am super satisfied." Yes, I am super satisfied with them. Recently I stocked up my wardrobe with this brand of merino wool socks at the Christmas market on the Slovakia Square in Sofia. They had came out from the Pochurapi at this market, and when I saw them I bought several more pairs just to have them. Keep in mind that when you wear these socks for a few periods of time from autumn to spring, they will wear out. There is no way around it. They do wear out. And yes, they are very durable and I am super satisfied with the quality, but at some point the socks wear out. They have a lifespan, that's it. You can't wear them indefinitely, no matter how much I want to do it. 2 or 3 months before this conversation with Flamen, I launched my online shop in the blog, in the online store, and I offer things that are cool at good prices, and all these products would certainly be useful for fellow cyclists. I asked Flamen if he had any objections to me adding merino socks to my online store. "No problem," he replied. "But wait for another month. We'll have a special surprise, but I don't want to talk about it right now." A month passed unnoticed, and one day I received message from the speedy shipping company that I have a package. I went to check what it was, and what do I found? I found a package from Flamen with 1 pair of climbing cycling socks and 1 pair of cycling socks for photographers. Cycling socks for photographers? For me? Well, you have to know that I am the man who loves so much taking good photos while cycling. The picture of a beautiful sunset, right, a beautiful sunrise, that's one of the most valuable things in a brevet for me. I ride, stop, and I take photos with pleasure. So Flamen pleasantly surprised me. Keep in mind, however, that the second model of the socks for climbers, give you some watts as advantage when you climb up to 3%. Yes, where on climbing gradients up to 3%, the socks give you an advantage of about 25 watts. Wow, 25 watts of advantage just because of the super cool wipes they are made with. Special note, the 25 watt of advantage doesn't apply to gradients above 3%. The next part of the gear I want to talk today is the merino gloves. Just like with the socks, I have two types of merino gloves. One is thinner and the other one is thicker. I primarily use the thicker gloves during the transitional seasons of the spring and autumn. They reside in the bag behind my saddle, so when an unexpected cold catches me off guard and I haven't taken my special winter gloves, this thicker one definitely saved the day. I use the thin merino gloves for almost 12 months of the year. Even during the peak of the summer, when I'm high up in the mountains, I use them. Sometimes during the early morning, the long mountain descent can be bone chilling. They also sit in the back behind my saddle, so on the days like today, when I start early around 7 o'clock and it's still 5-6 degrees, I put these gloves under the fingerless gloves. So when it warms up, I stow them away. This way I can start early in the morning without freezing my hands. I bought the thin merino gloves from Decathlon and they are from the Forquas brand. Link to the gloves, please come at my blog. The thin merino gloves cost around 22 Bulgarian levs. This is around 10 euro, and they are definitely worth every penny. The only issue I have with these gloves is that they wear out over the time on the top of the fingers. A very strange problem, but I have two different pairs of these thin gloves and they wear out at the same place. Apparently when they are up against other gloves underneath or when they are up against the handlebars, they get worn out in this specific area. The material is thin, soft and comfortable, and I have no idea why they wear out exactly there. But the problem is 100% real, because I had two different pairs of these gloves and both wore out on the same spot. I suppose the only way to deal with this issue is to add some additional patches to reinforce the material at the fingertip. Keep in mind that I wear these gloves even in winter when I have winter gloves on. I put the tiny one on underneath as the first layer on the coldest days. Most of the time they stay in the back behind my seat for easy access and use when needed. Merino buff. The next essential and highly important item in my merino wool gear is the buff, the scarf that goes around the neck and your face. Everyone knows what a buff is, there is no need to explain. My buff is also made of merino wool and it's from Decathlon as well. You can find a link to it in the blog. Please come and visit. However, the merino material of the buff, unlike the gloves, is super durable. I have two of these buffs I wear through the entire winter, spring and autumn. I put one of them around my neck as it's traditional warm and it keeps both my neck and my face very warm. The buff in general is quite long, so when I fold in half, it perfectly covers both the face and the neck. I use my second merino buff frequently during extreme cold spells in the winter. Generally, I don't wear a hat, so when it's extreme cold and I'm riding, I put the second buff on my head under the helmet. This way, it does an excellent job. I should explicitly mention that neither my primary red buff, which I wear as intended around my neck, nor the second one I use as a hat have stretched out for over a year and a half of heavy use. Keep in mind that all these merino products from Decathlon, which I'm reviewing right now, have about 90-95% merino wool content. The same applies to the socks. The remaining portion, up to 100%, consists of synthetic threads, which are crucial to maintaining the overall cut and preventing the material from stretching and wearing out easily. There is only one main component of my fall, winter, spring merino gear left, the thermal layer. Actually no, I missed the review of the merino jersey. For about a year and something, I also have a merino jersey from Decathlon. Link to the jersey here in the blog. This specific jersey, however, I do not recommend, definitely. But also, it's no longer available from Decathlon anywhere. This is the only part of my entire cycling gear made of merino bought from Decathlon that I hardly ever use. I don't use it for several reasons. First, the fit is somehow strange, with heavy pocket flaps on top of that and some strange tic-tac buttons. Wow, it's not for me. Yes, it does have the 3 mandatory pockets at the back. Second main issue why I don't wear this jersey regularly is that its material is not okay. With it, I feel like I sweat more and it stays damp longer. Definitely, I do not recommend it. If you want to have a bicycle jersey for this season made from merino, I recommend buy it from bike24.de. The price there are not much higher. The last super important part of my cycling gear is the thermal underwear, especially the merino shirt. I'm super happy with the merino thermal underwear and my long-sleeved shirt bought from Decathlon. Last year I bought this shirt for €50. Now I see the price is reduced to €37. I highly recommend this price. The merino shirt is from the same 4-class brand at Decathlon. The same brand with my buff and the glove. Keep in mind that I bought this merino thermal underwear about a year and something ago. While it was cold in winter and during the spring, and even now at the autumn, I'm almost always with one of my merino shirts, the thermal underwear. When one of them goes for washing, I put on the other one. The same, just like the first. Wow. Today, for example, in the morning, it was about 6 degrees Celsius. I started riding dressed only with my thermal underwear and my Gore-Tex jacket on top, the Gaba. Later in the day, it warmed up significantly and I took off the sleeves of the jacket. It's the type of jacket that has detachable sleeves with zippers. The jacket model is perfect for transitional periods in the late autumn and spring when it's warm during the day, but at morning is quite cold. The detachable sleeves on the jacket are available because you can quickly take them off, put them in your bicycle bag and continue riding. So in the morning I started with the thermal underwear only and the jacket on the top, and it was great. However, when I climbed up the Devetaki Plateau, it warmed up significantly. It became around 24 degrees and I had to take off the sleeves, unzip, and after a few minutes the slightly damp thermal underwear was completely dry. I highly recommend this thin merino shirt, the thermal underwear. You can buy it from Decathlon for about €37. I also use thermal bottoms from a Turkish manufacturer who has a store in our country. The brand is woolcollection.com. Their stuff is good for the upper part of the thermal underwear, but for the jersey, the upper part, I strongly recommend to buy it from Decathlon. So from this Turkish brand, woolcollection.com, I have a thermal bottoms. I wear them on extremely cold winter days when it turns out to be around -6 and more degrees cold. Then under my winter tights, I put on this merino thermal bottom and I'm super comfortable. All season cycling shoes. At this point, I want to make a note about something very important that I missed regarding the merino socks for the period of autumn, winter and spring. For 4 years now, I have been riding constantly with summer cycling shoes only. From the end of autumn up to the end of spring, I ride with gaiters over the shoes, and during the rest of the time I have a special small gaiters made of neoprene just for the top front part of the shoes. During the summer I put them on only if I have some downhill riding in the mountains, if it's raining and so on, especially on some chilly summer mornings. In winter I put away these half gaiters made of neoprene and I ride with full gaiters, which are waterproof, and inside they have some fleece which keep your feet warm. Because of all that, especially on the cold days, the quality socks of merino are extremely important. And I have to say that my 3-season cycling socks made from merino do their job just perfectly. You can find the 3-season MERINO cycling socks in the online store in my blog. Please come and visit it. Today in the morning it was quite cold, but later the temperature rose to over 25 degrees. It was really hot and enjoyable for riding. I recorded all these podcasts while climbing with my bicycle Pips on the Devetaki Plateau. I am already at the end of the Devetaki Plateau. Only one last small descent remains, and the temperature is already 18 degrees. I have about 20 and some more kilometers of super enjoyable descent ahead. Because of that, I have to say bye to all the listeners of this podcast, the 30 km per hour podcast with the Lupus blog. Thank you for being with me the last 20 minutes. I'm Lupo. I wish you good luck and ride joyfully.